Hey friends, I'm Caitlin, and today we're going to be doing an easy wind down yoga sequence to help you transition from your day to starting to unwind, reconnect, and get ready for bed. We're going to start standing, and you can put a hand on your heart and one on your belly and just start shifting your weight from one leg to the other. You can sway a little bit. This is just a nice way to start getting out of your head and back into your body. You can shake your arms if you want, maybe get a little more of a bend in the knees. If you're anything like me, you might have a little bit of trouble kind of turning your brain off when you're ready to relax, and so this swaying is a great way to get back into your body. Next, we're going to do some sun salutations, and the reason I like to start with sun salutations is because it's a way to bring a little warmth into the body, which is going to make the stretches that we do later on more comfortable, but it's also a really smooth, gentle way to discharge any excess energy that you feel might be pent up in your body from the day, but in a way that it's not going to like get your heart rate super amped up and get you sweaty. Those things can actually kind of interfere with your sleep. So this is just a gentle way to get some of that excess energy out, get a little movement in, but that'll transition really well into continuing to relax and get ready for a good restful evening and sleep. Here I'm doing 3 full sun salutations. You can do more if you want to. And then when you come into the end of that 3rd sun salutation, stay in down dog and really take a few breaths here. You can bend the knees and dip the hips from side to side. You can pedal your heels out, help the neck relax, shake the head no, nod it yes. Just really get that good stretch. Then drop your knees on an exhale, coming into hands and knees or tabletop. And then we'll move into a few rounds of cat-cow. On the inhale, lift your chin, drop your belly. And then as you exhale, round your spine, tuck your tail and your chin. Make sure that you're staying really grounded here. Knees should be about hip distance apart, hands about shoulder distance apart. Bring your fingers nice and wide and press down into your palms and your knuckles. Really start to check in with your spine. Feel for any stickiness, any tension from the day. And then from the regular cat-cow, start to move into a side-to-side motion. Gently squeeze one shoulder and hip together, and then move to the other side, just back and forth. Notice how that changes the sensation in your spine. And then when you're ready, you can even move into some hip circles, if that's something that would feel good in your body. With this wind down sequence, it's a really nice opportunity to connect with your body and ask how it would feel supportive for you to move as you start kind of checking in with yourself and moving away from the busyness of the day. From here, we'll come into thread the needle. I'm starting on the right side. And when you lower that right shoulder and upper arm to the mat, if you want to keep bringing in some movement, you can gently press into your left palm and roll in and out. Or if you want to hold it static, you can slide that left arm overhead, keep some pressure in that left hand, and just make sure you're not putting too much weight on your head and into your neck. When you're ready to come out of this pose, just press into that left hand, come back to hands and knees, and then we'll move into the other side, reaching out with the left arm, bringing the shoulder to the mat. And then again, if you want a little more movement here, pressing gently into that right hand, rolling in and out. Or if you want to hold it static, you can slide the right hand up overhead and just making sure you're not letting too much of your weight rest on the head. You should be feeling this stretch mostly in that left arm and shoulder, maybe into your upper back. When you're ready, bring that right hand back in, press yourself back to hands and knees. And from here, we're going to come back into down dog. And I love this transition into pigeon. We're going to reach that right leg back and let it fall back, really get that full side body stretch. Then bring your right leg up and start to slide your left leg back behind you. It's really tempting here to want that hip to touch the floor, but we want to keep the hips and the spine straight. So even if there's a little bit of daylight under that front leg and hip, that's definitely going to be better for your back than if you tip your body to bring that hip to the floor. You can rest your head on your forearms. If that's a little bit too much, you can stack your fists to rest your forehead instead. And then if you're really feeling it and you want to go all the way into the pose, you can stretch your arms out, bring your forehead to the floor, and let your chest come a little bit closer to your mat. Now, because I wanted to keep this video short, we're not going to be here for too long, but on your own, you're welcome to pause the video here and stay in pigeon for as long as you want, as long as you feel like your body needs it. But I'm going to start coming back up. I'm going to walk my hands in, and now this part's optional. If you want a little bit more of a stretch, you can start to bring a little bit of a back bend in here by pressing into your palms before you tuck the back toes and move back into a down dog. We're going to take another breath here. And then take that side bend on the other side. Left leg comes up and over. Really feel that stretch all the way through the left side, from the underarm down into the hip. Then swing that left leg gently in, moving into pigeon on the other side. And you can see here I've got quite a bit of daylight under my hips. I'm not dipping to one side. I'm keeping my spine and my hips straight. And again, on this side, if you want, you can stack your fists, or you can fold your arms to rest your forehead, or if you really want to get deep into it, you can stretch the arms out and come all the way down. One side can look different than the other. That's totally fine. And if at any point you feel like you've gone a little bit too far, you can always back yourself up to a more comfortable variation. Remember, this is your practice. You do whatever feels good in your body. You can wiggle around a little bit too. This is definitely not a pose that you need to hold totally static. Then before coming out of the pose, you can add that optional back bend just for a little bit more of a stretch. And then as you're ready to transition, tuck the back toes, press yourself up, and come back into that final down dog. Really take a nice juicy stretch here before dropping your knees. And then we're going to move onto our back. You can do that however is most comfortable for you. We'll start with the feet flat, and we're going to do a couple bridge roll downs. So tuck the shoulders under, bring the arms by the sides. When you're ready, press firmly into the soles of the feet and engage your glutes to lift your hips up off the mat, letting your back arch. Make sure that you're keeping the back body really active here. You shouldn't just feel this in your glutes and your feet, but also in your hamstrings and in your back. Don't clasp your hands beneath you because we're going to roll down with an exhale. You need your hands out of the way for that. Think about pressing each vertebra down into the mat one at a time, coming all the way down to the very tip of your tailbone. When your whole spine has been released, then you can relax back into that natural spine curve. Maybe take a little wiggle, and we're going to do that one more time. When you're ready, squeezing the glutes, lift the hips, press the navel up toward the ceiling. Make sure this is comfortable on your neck and your shoulders. If you're feeling too much pressure, see if you can tuck your shoulders a little bit more. And then when you're ready, with an exhale, start to roll your spine all the way back down. You can take your time for this. It doesn't have to be just one breath. And then relaxing back to that neutral or that natural spine curve at the end. Then we'll move into Daydreamer. Keep your knees touching, but step your feet out toward the edges of the mat. We're going to take a couple breaths here. You can bring your hands to your belly if you want, or one hand to the heart, one hand to the belly. And see if you can get a little bit more length in your spine. Maybe you could shimmy your shoulders up or your hips down. And if you want some movement, you can start to windshield wiper the knees, just gently rocking through that hip socket. You might feel this in your low back or in the back of the pelvis. You might feel it in the thighs. Take your time, just be really intentional and gentle with this movement. We don't really need to be getting a stretch here. We're just helping the body continue to unwind. Now we'll move into reclined bound angle. Bring the soles of the feet together and let the knees fall apart. And again, here we're not necessarily going for a deep stretch. We're just helping the body open and soften. You can bring your arms overhead if that would feel good. Getting a little bit of a stretch through the back of the shoulders and the upper arms. And then if you notice that you do have a lot of congestion in your hips, you can bring your palms to the tops of your thighs and just gently alternate pressing down into one thigh and then the other. I learned this from a friend who's a massage therapist, and I think it's a really nice addition to this pose. Then start guiding your knees back together and lift the legs up to tabletop. We're going to come into a twist. You can bring your arms out to the sides either in a T, or you can goalpost the arms, whatever would feel better for your shoulders. And then with the legs in tabletop, start to cross them over to the left side. We're going to start on the left. And your knees don't have to stay perfectly stacked here. They don't even have to reach all the way to the floor. If you have a blanket or a pillow with you, you can put them under that left leg to give yourself a little bit more room. And if you want to deepen the stretch, you can bring that left hand and rest it on the right knee. We're not going to pull here, just using the weight of that hand to increase the stretch a little bit. If this is uncomfortable at all on your back, or if it feels like that right shoulder is popping up off the floor, you've gone a little bit too far. Just back out slightly from the twist. And if that means your bottom leg comes up, you can support it with your left hand, or if you have props, you can use a pillow or a blanket. Twisting is a really excellent way to sort of energetically wring out anything that's stuck in the body, any physical tension, but also mental or emotional tension that you might have accumulated during your day. We're going to transition to the other side, but first we're going to bring the legs into the chest, just give them a little squeeze, and if it feels okay on your back, you can rock a little bit, almost like you're massaging your back against the mat. Then bring the legs back to tabletop and cross them over to the right side. Same thing here, your knees don't have to stay stacked. If that right leg doesn't quite reach all the way to the floor, you can support it with a pillow or a folded blanket or even your right hand. And then you can bring the right hand to the top of the left leg if you want to increase that stretch just a little bit. Don't pull, just use the weight of your hand and arm to increase that stretch. You can also look over the left shoulder if that would feel okay for your neck. And as you breathe here, just feel your body gently wringing out. Notice if that left shoulder is popping up. If it is, you've gone a little bit too far. Just back slightly out of that twist. And think about if there's anything from your day that you're ready to wring out, either from your physical body or from your mind. You can even think about using your exhales to gently brush away, carry away anything that you're ready to let go of. When you're ready to come out of the twist, if you turned your head, bring it back to center. Bring the legs back to tabletop, and we're going to give them another quick squeeze. If it's uncomfortable to hold over your shins, or if your arms don't quite reach, you can hold at the back of the knees instead. And then as you're ready, make your way back to center. And then you can release the legs, drop the feet back to the floor, and then stretch the legs all the way out. We're going to transition into our last pose, but first we're going to take a nice full body stretch. Really point your toes, reach up into your fingers, release with a big sigh. And then bring your arms down by your sides, let your feet fall away from each other. You might be more comfortable with your hands on your belly or one hand on your heart. I like to keep my hands by my sides with my palms facing up. This is our last pose, Shavasana. So this is a really nice time to check in with your body again and notice if there were any sticky spots, any places where you were holding some discomfort that have been softened. And if you're still carrying a little bit of tension or discomfort in your body, that's okay too. Check in with your breath and see if you can take some nice, deep, slow belly breaths. Really allow the belly to expand with the inhale and let the navel fall back toward the spine on the exhale, just pulling the breath through the ribcage down into the belly. And notice the weight of your body against the mat and allow your body to feel anchored. Allow yourself to feel supported by the ground beneath you. Coming into stillness, reminding yourself that you deserve to rest and to rest well, regardless of what you did during the day. When you're ready to come out of Shavasana, just bring some gentle movement back in. You can wiggle your fingers or your toes, and don't just sit straight up. I like to roll onto my side first and then press myself gently back up. Come into a seat, take a breath. Our practice is ended. Thank you so much for joining me. Namaste. Hope the rest of your evening is restful and peaceful.